Hello, welcome back to the Great Unexplained Debate. We're talking about just general hauntings and what we all do for our enjoyment, our living and our hobbies. We're talking about the hauntings at my particular house, and it's funny, there was one instance where Yvette and I were both in bed, and because we're married we're allowed to do that sort of thing, and we were kind of asleep, and I know there's the hypnagogic and hypnopompic sleep states that people probably say what it was, but I remember Yvette saying, sweetheart, could have thought it was our daughter coming in with some flowers that she'd picked from outside, and which is bizarre because obviously she couldn't get out of the house because it's all locked up. And she said, sweetheart, it's too early in the morning, just let mummy and daddy sleep for a bit. And she still stood there, and I said, sweetheart, I said, nip off back to bed, darling. And I got up to take her back to bed, but she'd gone, and I thought, oh, obviously she's dipped down, so I went down. She was in bed, and I thought, fine, she's obviously gone back to bed and fallen to sleep straight away. It was only when we sort of got up, we said, actually, did that really happen? Because she couldn't have got out of the house. And we both saw the same thing. And it was a little girl. Weirdly, we described it, and it didn't, when we described it to each other, it didn't look like our daughter, our description.
Assumed it'd be one.
But we just assumed it was when it was a little girl in our bedroom with flowers. Of course, there's no flowers anywhere. And you kind of go, what's that about? And I kind of say, if I had seen it or Yvette had seen it, then we go, yeah, it's a sleep state thing. But we both saw it, and we both witnessed it, and I actually got up and she was in bed. So you kind of thought that was weird. But you said in the break, do I feel strange living there? No, yeah. I absolutely love the house. It's got a great feeling to it, and it's a house hopefully I'm going to be in for the rest of my life, and maybe, who knows, beyond. But what's the strangest hauntings? I mean, you guys must have been to lots of different places, or at least heard of different places. Is there any strange hauntings that you've encountered?
Well, I have fond of Bowling Hall and Morecambe Winter Gardens. Been to Bowling Hall 3 times within the space of a year, so there's something about the place. It's not giving me a great deal back, but something about the place that I don't know. It feels like it needs a bit more, to prove the point. Like tapping sounds, and recently on my last visit there I took a photograph outside, and a couple of days after just messing about with the camera, zooming in on it, and it looks like there's a dark figure outside. I never saw that when I was there, obviously, but it seems to be like when you take some pictures, have a look at them there and then, rather than saving for later, because then you can go and have a look, take more photographs around the area, make sure there's nothing else, to try and get rid of any other, explanations, really. Then you can start going down the path as, well, is it paranormal, obviously, unless if you get an apparition, shake your hand, you can say, oh my God, that's as good as I'm going to get.
Point, isn't it? We've had it before when people have sort of said, and I'm guilty of it myself. You can see something, whether that be in a photograph or whether you can feel something, and at that instant, you go through your own mental checklist of how tired am I? Have I eaten? Am I conscious? Have I fallen asleep? This is a dream. All of that kind of stuff, and then suddenly you go, no, I'm fine. I'm compass. I know what I saw, or I know what I felt, or I know what I heard or smelt. And then the next morning comes, you go, you know what, I'm not 100% sure I really did see that, smell it, feel it, touch it, or whatever. I mean, have you ever had an experience or seen a weird haunting or something?
Chilling Castle, for me, was a weird place. We've been up there a few times as a kid, went back when I got older, and went up there 2 years ago. And as you got the main castle, and then you got like a private part to the accommodation bits. And I stood there taking a photo, and I was convinced somebody was looking at me through the door. The door was ajar. Took a photo, taking photos all around. Got back to the caravan that night, zooming in on the doorway. As I zoomed out, there's a window to the left, to the right of it, and it looked like a woman. So I zooming in, couldn't get back to the computer till end of the week. Got back, zoomed it in, and it looks like a figure of a woman wearing almost like a bodice.
Wow.
And the more you zoom in, it gets face features, and there was that one, and then in the main quadrangle of the castle, where the main stairway is, and the window to the left of there was a picture of a bloke's head, clear as day.
And there was nobody else?
Nothing there.
That could have been?
No, because the corridor behind it is just all storage, and we'd just come out, kids on the stairs taking photos, and it was just random snaps along the place.
It's funny,
so it's three different things in 3 different windows, and you think, but it wasn't just wasn't like just one photo, random photos, one after another, going around the quadrangle.
But it's got to be something, you know. At the end of the day, you know, you've caught something. Especially when you look at, you zoom in something, and it's someone wearing period costume, you know, and you think, well, you would know whether someone had been wandering around as a piece of life history sort of, you know, exhibition going on. When you see that, and it always makes me think that I wonder how many photographs are lying in drawers or being binned off of cameras. Certainly now, the digital thing, that would actually have some sort of evidence that people think, oh, it's a double exposure, or oh, crumbs, that's
it's a tour guide or something like that.
Yeah. And they just got rid.
I was after I'd seen that picture, I got my memory card back in. I thought, oh God, there's loads on here. So I spent hours zooming around every little corner of it. You know, you don't find it all the time, obviously, but there are a few that are possible. But then there's some that you think, yeah, they're leaning a bit more like something's amiss there.
What's the weirdest thing you've encountered then? Weird hauntings? What, me?
This is weird.
This debate show.
I encountered you around 10 years ago. That was weird.
Very weird.
That was very weird.
Still suffering for it.
Oh, I am. And by the looks of it, I'm going to be suffering for a long time. No, there's been so many sort of weird things. I know when this is, for me, it's when people that you know and you trust say they've seen something, or they felt something, or there's evidence afterwards. And one of the weirdest, one of the most frightening things I experienced was a fairly sort of famed incident that happened at the Ancient Ram Inn.
Right.
And you know, Stuart, well, he was seemingly attacked, and you know, by something, and all, you know, he was basically almost crying in pain with this. He got taken on, you know, hit the floor and whatever. And we got him out of this room, and it was like we didn't know what was going on, because he was just, you know, it's only when you saw the footage later you saw he was actually, you know, he was pulled off his feet. You can see his feet come up. It's not like he fell over, he was pulled off his feet. And it was really the days afterwards which was the most amazing thing, that, you know, we have video record of it. It's never been shown, but it was he called me up and said, you know, I'm quitting. I can't do it anymore. And I said, well, why? I said, you've had weird things happen before. And he said, well, come over and have a look. And I went over, and his whole body was actually covered in welts. I mean, huge bruises. Literally like he'd just been set upon with someone with a baseball bat. And as she said at the time, he said, you know, I can't do it anymore. Said, and I understood. I mean, we stopped shooting the show for, I think at that point it was about 8 weeks, 8 or 9 weeks, to convince him to come back, because I didn't want to shoot it without him being involved. And we finally convinced him to come back, and and it was good, because it was almost like getting back on the horse, and you know, he was fine. But you kind of think that it made us all kind of think that there's something sinister to what we're doing, that we perhaps, you know, we don't really know what it is. And because of the physical evidence, that made me think, crying out loud, you know, that's harsh. And you know, I've seen people get cut. I've seen people, you know, I've been cut myself, and you know, and no matter how much the next day you think, oh, did I zip this, and did I, you know, was I cut before I went there, and then you look at the footage, you think, well, no, you can see it bleeding on the thing, you know. And there's that. I remember when, you know, stuff happens to Yvette, because you know, obviously you trust these people, and you know that they're not going to make it. Why would they? You know, it's not productive to do that, and things happen, and then you start thinking, crumbs, because you if it happens to you, you can try to rationalise it too much in a way, but when it happens to somebody else that you trust,